to another in-session video. Now you join me, and over the other side I've got my friend Robin, who you would have seen in my last video, and today we've come down to Chad Lakes for a day session. Now the last 2 weeks that we've been attempting to get onto Chad, it's actually been frozen over, so yeah, we've got 11-12 degrees temperatures today. There's no chance of that freezing over in the slightest. Believe it or not, there's literally just myself, Robin, and one other angler on the whole of the lake, so we have got plenty of room to get ourselves around and try and nick ourselves a bite. So what we've done at the moment is Robin's just gone on one side, I've come round to the sort of back bank, and just going to try and split ourselves up a little bit within reason, but still try and fish together. After all, it is a bit of a sort of winter's day sort of social, so yeah, we will join forces at some point through the day, but with the other angler being on the same side as Robin, I just felt that there'd be too many lines in that sort of area of the lake, so I've just come round to the other side, and we'll just flick some bags about for the next couple of hours to see how the morning progresses, see if we see any signs of fish, and give ourselves the best chance of sticking a fish or two on the mat. Let's get these out, get a couple of rods baited up, flick them out, see how the next couple of hours pan out, and just keep that loaded up so we can stay mobile. Venue then operates sort of like a no leaders sort of type rule, so essentially what you'll need to go in with is either naked or, to be on the safe side, some tubing. So I've got about a foot or so of tubing there, down to a lead clip, which obviously, as you see, the tubing and all the components just literally pop apart if for any reason a fish becomes snagged or anything like that. So super safe. Got a small 2.5 ounce flat pair lead there, which is more than adequate to get to anywhere on this lake. You know, it's underarm flicks at best, so really don't need a great big lead crashing in and around my swim, so 2.5 ounces will do the job perfectly. Down to a little mini anti-tangle sleeve. Again, I like to use these smaller ones just through sort of my own fishing really and my own confidence, and I just like using the smaller ones unless I'm fishing sort of zigs where I really need to get a massive you know, length of zig line pushed out. I just tend to opt for these smaller ones just because I like using them. They're just less bulky, less, you know, material to them, and they just fit nice and flush inside these lead clips perfectly. So then what I've done then for this session rig wise is I've got about 10 inches of my main line. So I've got the spool of my main line, which is the Ridge Monkey RM Tech Clear. It's £20, so as you can see it has got quite a bit of a diameter to it, but it makes the perfect sort of boom for this type of fishing. Now this is a choddy lake. It's got, you know, got a bit of muck down there, sort of tree lined, and trees on the island and stuff like that, so it is a bit mucky and a bit troddy down there. So I've gone with a 10-inch boom, which is nice and sort of supple, but with the diameter, like I say, with it being £20, I've tested it in the margin and it pushes away lovely just because of the sheer sort of thickness of the line. And then what I've done there, is, if you can see, is stuck a little mouse dropping of putty there and a little mouse dropping of putty there, just to help pin that down. And I've looked in the edge, and this is, you know, it's near on invisible, you can't really see it, and it's perfect for what I need. And then at the end I'm going with a Ronnie rig, a spinner rig, whatever you want to call it, mounted with a Scent from Hell pink pop-up, and then tipped off with 6 or 7 maggots. Now there are smaller fish in here, tench, roach, you name it, is in here. So how long those maggots last, I'm not quite sure. I'll have to judge that obviously through the course of the morning. But just to add, you know, like I say, a little added extra to the top of that pop-up, the little wriggling around sort of movement from these may just be the difference between nicking myself a bite or two. As I say, I've tested it in the edge. There's absolutely no need for any putty. The sort of small amount of swivel there that I've used, and potentially just the weight of the maggots on top is enough just to push that down, but still remain upright. So it's not going to go digging in or dropping into any of the bottom sediment. It's going to do its job, and that is exactly the reason why I've opted to use a sort of low lying pop-up, because I don't want one sort of, you know, hinge stiff, blatantly obvious, sat an inch or two above the deck. I wanted it still quite low because I am going to put a PVA bag on this with pellet and maggot, so still wanted it quite close to the actual PVA contents, but enough just to make sure that hook point was above, obviously, like I say, the lake bed and any muck that might be down there. But yeah, that is the setup. Like I say, nice 10-inch boom on there to keep everything away from the bottom. Lead clip tubing, really can't be simpler, really can't be much safer. Less talking, let's get it out there and see what the morning brings. So that's both rods then gone out. So what have I done with my two rods? As you can see, the islands have had a good pruning up. Basically, Chad has been taken over by new owners, and they've done some TLC around the margins, sort of on the bank as well as out on the island as well. So if you can see, a lot of the sort of island sort of, you know, shrubbery and stuff like that has all been sort of cleaned up and taken back right to the edge. And I believe upon speaking at the start of when we arrived, there was so much line and stuff like that attached to the island where people have obviously gone too close, overshot it, hooked into the island. You know, it's really not good leaving trailing line and in whatever else. So it was probably in a good need of a good trim up. So personally, I like it. You know, I like the fact that it's all been tidied up around the edges. Those sort of overhanging canopies and stuff like that make it a lot more accessible from, like I say, from underarm casting, which I've done, to baiting spoons, that sort of thing. So over time it will re-mature and you know, they'll all grow back, but in a safe and manageable way, where obviously there are going to be no lines or rigs left in the water with fish potentially hanging themselves, that sort of thing. So although it may not look pretty now, in the coming years, like I say, it will be much prettier and like I say, a lot more manageable and safer for the fish. So on that front, like I say, left-hander, it's just gone over to the island, probably about a foot or two off it, just in this sort of like little dip of the island. I noticed Robin also put one over to the corner here, so I'm kind of leaving this sort of area untouched because Robin's got a rod over there. If he does get a bite in the next sort of couple of hours, then you never know, I can always just move one into this zone as well. But essentially what we're trying to do is just break the water up into sort of like little sections really, and just cover as many options as possible with our 4 rods. He's also gone to the other side of the island, so again, if there are any fish getting around, then we may pick one off each. And then right-hander has gone, as you would have seen, I would have walked it down and just again put it up against this island, not really tight, about a foot, 2 foot off it, but again it allowed me to underarm it from this swim, underarmed it down underneath the canopy, drop straight down, just walk it back to my alarms and stick the rod on the alarms. So covered 2 islands. Robin's got one over on the opposite margin and on the opposite side of the island to me. The sun is out, it's an absolutely beautiful day, although it's a slight wind just sort of blowing through underneath the bottoms of these trees here. I really can't complain. Glad to be out after sort of 2 weeks of 2 weeks of frosts and my day sessions being written off, so I'm happy to be out. twice since they've been out, and I just wanted to sort of test the water really over over the couple of hours and see if the hook baits come back in with any maggots on it. And yeah, it's pretty obvious that the silvers are ravenous, because there are absolutely no sign of any maggots left on either of the rods. They were still fishing because they had a pop-up and a wafter on it, but I'm just not getting that sort of intended presentation with the maggot toppers. So I'm going to do away with those on top of the hook baits. I'm just going to increase the sort of bag size, so just make that slightly bigger, and recast it a little more regularly, so probably more like every hour, because I'm pretty sure that these bag contents, they won't last too long with the amount of smaller fish in here, doing away with the maggots and that smaller pellet. So I moved up one swim. I'm going to try a couple of different areas with the rods, and just keep roving around with the swims that I've got at my disposal. Now Robin has got fish crawling all over his right hand rod. They are all in the margin, best part probably 10-12 fish just scooting in and around, up and down there. Yeah, we've been watching them for about the past 10 minutes, so we've come up with a bit of a plan of attack for him, so he's going to put that into practice. But yeah, I'm hoping that regularly recasting these two Ronnie / spinner rigs, you know, then it's going to nick me a bite at some point throughout the day. So less talking, let's get it out there, get the other rod sorted, and yeah, see if we can make something happen. Well, it looks like Robin's in, and by the looks of his rods on the floor, that'll be the right hander, which I would assume is the one that we had been seeing fish crawling over. A slight change in his hook bait approach. He texts me, just may well have done the business. So this is exactly what me and Robin were discussing before he had the rods in and made that slight change. So what we're doing is just to, you know, keep disturbance down to an absolute minimum, because the fish were just literally right off and under the edge of this bush. So we said if we get him to walk his rod round, literally lower it down to exactly where we were seeing those fish, and then it would just be a case of walking it back round as he's doing now. Because there is no sort of marginal sort of trees or bushes or anything like that, no shrubbery that can get in the way, he can walk that background to not the first swim but the second swim, just the other side of that island, and basically he will have no line in and around the edge of that sort of bush there. All the line will be going like all the way from there back to his sticks, so well out of the way of any fish, and the fish that are coming around the corner here and in and around just this little corner sort of bay, they won't come in contact with any line whatsoever, because like I say, it's gone all the way back that way rather than anywhere else, so it's not cutting through the bay or anything like that. And with that tight little bag just lower down there, there's no disturbance of casting or anything like that. There is literally just one little mound of bait for them to come in, hoover up and nail themselves on, and that is exactly what happened with that one there. We changed the hook bait to a more natural, sort of subtle looking bait, and it's probably gone within what, 10-15 minutes since he put that out. So it's well worth it, just paying those, you know, paying attention to those extra little details when fishing these little intimate day ticket waters, because they really can make a difference. Robin straight off that margin again. And guess what? We're back in Robin's swim. Look at this for a mink common. Yeah, you said that you just set a bobbin on your alarms, didn't you? And it rattled off.
Off he went.
So they are absolutely loving it in there. Like I said to them earlier, they are content in being in there. So I could quite see myself coming back here another 2, 3, 4 times this afternoon. So absolutely mega common, mate. We'll get some photos, slip it back, and if you can let me try and catch one, mate, that'd be awesome.
Go on the Cremino.
Go on the Cremino spinner rigs. Look at that. Look at the tail on it. So I'm at the complete opposite end of the lake now, sitting on the end of that wind. Just couldn't do it anymore. Although it's sort of 11-12 degrees today, being on the end of that sort of 25-30 mile an hour wind is yeah, not warm in the slightest. So I'll come right back up the other end, right on the back of the wind. The sun will be sort of coming in over my shoulder. I've got a rig. I'm pretty much going to be poaching up Robin. I've got Cremino pop up on there, trimmed out, bag of goodies, bait box of goodies, spray over the top. It is literally, like I say, last chance saloon, sitting on it for the next couple of hours really before the light fades. We go into the early evening and we start to decide when we're going to think about calling it a day. So I need to get this in over my shoulder, walk it back down the bank, and keep absolutely everything crossed so I can nick myself a fish before home time. As the sun begins to set over my shoulder, I am still scratching for a bite. Feeling hopeful in the last 40 minutes that I might be able to nick one, as I've just seen my first show of the day and not a million miles away from my right hand rod. So whilst they remain out in the lake, there's always a chance that I may be leaving with a wet net and mat, but a big ask, I know. Robin, on the other hand, he has sat it out on the other side and made the most of that marginal opportunity with his right hand rod, having 3 fish under his belt on his first visit to Chad, and 3 really nice fish as well. So I'm glad for him to get off the mark, come to somewhere new and get himself a few bites. So I'm really happy for that. It was the aim of today's session, really, getting out, having a few bites between us, whoever caught them. And yeah, like I say, just getting him out somewhere new and trying out another lake, which we will certainly be visiting again in the future. But it's a complete different contrast to how it was earlier. Absolutely no wind whatsoever. The temperature is dropping rapidly. My hands holding the camera tripod are certainly starting to freeze, and I've got a feeling it's going to be going right down to sort of minus figures again tonight. The sky is clear. Not a cloud in the sky. I'm hoping that there's one last bit of action for this session that falls to my rods, but if not, thanks for watching. I will catch up with you next time I am out in session. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, come and say hi on any of my social media channels, media channels even, and yeah, I will catch up with you next time I am out on the bank.